Okay. So I want to shout out to everyone from Australia. That was Dave D. They're good dancing skills. Hi, Australia. Can I shout out, hey, Auntie Linda. Auntie Linda, I did an interview with her on my channel. She's an original Aboriginal, blue-eyed blonde, interesting coloration. And she likes the F word. That makes her a true Oh my gosh. Who's here from New Zealand? New Zealand! New Zealand! Now, where are our beautiful Japanese people? Where are you? Japan! Japan! Welcome, Japan. Hi! Welcome, welcome. Oh gosh, there are too many other countries to name. I hope you don't mind. But blessings and love to all of you. I wanted to see something. People were telling me that there are so many people literally who flew in for this conference from outside of America. Can I see who did that, please? Oh my God. Okay. I'm definitely doing one in England. Definitely. Absolutely doing England. Hi, guys. I'm so excited. The jet lag's a bitch, though, isn't it? Woo! Okay, perfect. Okay, I better get on with this. Oh my gosh. Okay, so angels, demons, and aliens, they are not the same thing. And I keep saying this over and over, and I get attacked, of course, because people don't want to expand their belief system. And I get it. I was like that. When I was growing up, I was inflicted with the Pentecostal evangelical. Yes. And I would run away from people like me. I would have a literal repulsion of people that saw angels and Jesus and ghosts and demons. And because I saw all of these things from birth, and if you haven't got my book, it describes an awful lot of my physical interactions with these species. And I think the reason why I've grown up that way is that I could speak to it with some authority. Otherwise, why listen to someone, you know? And so when I saw or found people, and people say, oh yeah, she talks to angels or she talks to fairies, I'd be like, oh yeah, Jesus doesn't like that. Jesus bloody loves that. You just weren't told that. Okay? And I met Jesus at 7 years old as a little girl in my bedroom. That beautiful being, that fully realized human, he exists. He's real. And we're not going to hell because he never said that. Somebody made that shit up. Jesus is amazing. He's amazing. So as far as I'm concerned, the people that say that angels, demons, and aliens, or demons and aliens are the same thing, they haven't had a real experience. Because if they had, they'd know the difference. But sometimes the aliens mimic as demons, and the demons definitely mimic as aliens. The signature frequencies are very different. There are many beings of all physical and signature frequencies that they look different and they feel different. And guess what? When JP was on the stage with Michael, and they went off exit left, and I came up here. As I walked into their wind, as I call it, their energy, I could feel the Pleiadians. I know that frequency, yes, and I got absolute goosebumps. And it's so beautiful because, again, with real, true physical experience, not just what I've read in Elena Danaan's books, my own experiences, that they cloak. And so there are physical ETs in the audience. You're welcome to show yourselves. And bug. Little challenge. But they cloak. They can be completely invisible. And I have seen this in my house in Costa Rica when I lived there. And the beautiful Egoroth Annex was in my house and gliding over to me in his beautiful Egoroth way. And Thor Hanaredion was showing me his bottom and looking out the window, and I screamed, because they made me jump, and they instantly cloaked. But I will say Thor Hanaredion went, because he knows me. Tell you something else as well that I meant to tell you earlier. There's so much to remember in my little brain. Elena, she's hiding. Guess what Elena said When I said Elena last night, when the craft came over, Elena lit into me and she said, Danaan is going to get a really big reward for this. But they are married. And he does have a lovely bottom, and I can say that because I've got permission, and it's true. Anyway, so the differences between the physical and the signature frequency, like I said, I walked into the Pleiadian energy. It was all around JP, protection for him too. Cloaked, they're here. Sorry, not sorry. Oh, she's a good sport. And there are those that visit as well. So I want you, again, to be more confident in your own, what is that feeling? What am I feeling? You walk beside someone or you just get a sense of something. What is that? That's an opportunity for you to check, to feel that frequency. Even if you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter. Start practicing. Okay, my witness statement. I've seen and connected physically my whole life with angels, demons, and aliens, physically. And I can assure you they're not the same thing. People that claim this don't have real physical experience, in my opinion, or it was a mimic, as I said earlier. They all have very different signature frequencies. And so let's start with the angels. Now, they say that the angel ranks go from angelic to archangel to cherubim to seraphim. I have no proof of that ranking because I wasn't in heaven organizing the archangels, etc. But I have seen all of these with my physical eyes. And they are quite extraordinary. And they do have different frequencies. And one time I was flying from America to London and I was lying in bed and I was trying to drop off. And all of a sudden I heard this giggling. And I literally look up and there were two teeny tiny cherub baby angels. And my first thought was, what are those babies doing up there? It was so remarkable, and they were physical. And then the second thought that you have in a quantum moment was, their wings were so tiny. I was like, how the hell are they staying up? I mean, it's amazing what you think in the moment something's happening. And then they giggled, and they went, whew, and they just kind of went backwards. And it was amazing. And I laid there thinking, pinching myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm wide awake. And I remember thinking, well, now I know why the Renaissance paintings are full of these baby cherub angels, because people tend to paint what they see, don't they? So that was amazing. And so they rank in energy frequency, but they also are tricksters. Make no mistake. I was a nursery nurse. That was my very first career. So I'm just obsessed with children. I always will be. And the inner child in all of us, adults, clearly. Haven't let mine go yet. Not gonna. And I was looking after a 2-month-old baby. He had a very poorly sister. She was under 2 years old. And I was on night duty. And I was in my room, and I got this bad feeling. And I went into the baby's room, and there was an angel standing over the baby like this, in prayer stance. And I walked in, and I said, fuck off. Because the second I walked in, I sensed it was a demonic. And then, in the next moment, I realized it was naked. What the hell is a naked angel with no wings, with a really bad dark haircut, doing standing over a 2-month-old baby? Yeah. And his sister was sick. Yeah. So I used my full force angelic powers. Ugh! And it left. So, but the illustration is, I could have been in that moment overwhelmed. Oh my God, it's an angel standing over the baby. Don't give them the time of day. Whatever you see, next, don't be so impressed. That's a problem we're programmed to do. We're programmed to be impressed, okay? So just be okay with it, because you're cool. Okay, we're all really cool. We can see angels if we like. We can see Jesus if we like, yeah? And we need to temper it down a bit and not be so like, because we rock, all of us. We do. It's true. Thank you. Thank you. Demonic frequencies, again, very, very different. You can walk past someone and you can feel. You can just feel. You can see the most beautiful, like I did years ago. This Adonis was walking towards me. I was 11. You're a little girl. You're just budding, your little boobies, and you're all, shy. And this Adonis starts walking towards me. He looked like Archangel Michael. I remember thinking, oh, God, I've got to walk past that man. That boy, I've got to walk. Well, when he hit my frequency, all I could hear was screaming from the depths of hell. Now, I'll tell you his first name, but not his second. His name was Freddie, and he was a friggin' serial killer. And he lived over the road from me. Yes, he did. He came in my house. He worked with my dad. How scary is that? And so I learned then, I'd already had a lot of experiences, that, my God, again, the package, whatever, Trevor, where's the frequency? What can I feel? What do I trust first to get the package? Very, very important. I've met evil kids. Oh, yeah. Evil kids, evil old ladies. Be careful of the evil old ladies. I'm telling you, they're running the world. The mothers of darkness at the highest level of the satanic cult. Oh, yeah, you'd never know it. They're so sweet. They just knit and murder and eat children, sadly. So anyway, again, be careful, be mindful of everything in the package. And I'm so glad I have the experience, and I want you to be more confident with yours. Aliens. Love me an alien. I've seen so many different types. I saw one in Costa Rica one time. He was so funny. He was peeping in the window at me, and he looked like a little chubby policeman. And he was looking in, because I had floor-to-ceiling glass, and I went, oh, and then I looked and saw him physically. And it was so interesting because his skin, you could almost see it was of a different dimension. It was so interesting in that quantum second. And then, say this is the pole or the window, he went, I tried to hide. I'm like, I saw you. And then I emailed Elena. She said, that was a tall. It was guarding you. Then another time I was in Hawaii, and in this house was awful. The energy in the house, it looked beautiful. It's a 10,000 square foot. I was renting it with a friend for a while, but it was wrong. The energy was so wrong in that house. The minute I walked in, I said to my friend, oh, I'm so jet lagged from England, and I laid on the bed, and I said, I'll see you in half an hour. And I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, I'm in between falling off and sleeping, and the weight of the bed goes down. And I opened my eyes just slightly, and there was a big man, a big muscly man, sitting on my bed. And in that split second of in-between sleep, I thought it was my Jeff. Now, my Jeff died of a heart attack, unfortunately, and he was a massive guy with massive arms. And I remember it was like sleep paralysis, and this thing was sitting on the bed, and I reached out and I touched it, and it was freezing cold. And then, when I looked at its face, it didn't have a face. It had a gap. It had a space. It was searching my memory for a face of Jeff to put in place, right? That is a mimic. But there was something so evil in that house. It was unbelievable. The biggest and the worst demon I ever saw physically was trying to get me, was pushing and leaning on the sofa. Because when I do a paranormal blessing, a land healing, etc., often when you've done the work, you'll see lots of black flies. That's a sign for me that the death or the energy is moving out. But this one time I went up to my room, and there were like 15 black flies around the bathroom light. And I was like, oh my God, that's so weird. And I thought I could kill them all, but if I miss one, it might land on me, and they go in dog poo and stuff like that. So I thought, oh no, I need to go downstairs. So I went downstairs. And we had a massive, massive sofa with a big gap behind it, and there was a piano over there. It was a huge house. It was obnoxious. Anyway, so I thought, I'll just sleep on the sofa. I don't want to deal with the flies. And I'm laying there, and I heard this. Now, luckily, I don't scare easy. I'm very violent. And I am. It's all the years of being tormented by these buggers. And so I laid there, and then it was pushing on the sofa. And then I got the image of it, and it was like a massive black hairy bull. And it was leaning, but it couldn't get me because I'm protected, and I'm quite fierce and violent, like I just said. Anyway, so it was leaning, and I literally said, fuck off. And then I laid there, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go back to sleep because I know it can't touch me, and it didn't. But it woke me up again. And this time it was pushing harder and harder and harder, trying to freak me out. I'm like, dude, you're embarrassing yourself, honestly. But I'll tell you what that was. That really was the worst, the darkest, the most evil demonic I have ever encountered in my life. It was at the very top to top of an arcane, of a demonic principality. And all the demons under it are fighting for that top job. Yeah, that was amazing. So now back to the aliens. So the worst ones, the worst frequency, the worst energy that we've all encountered, a lot of us, is the Greys. Absolutely. And then the Pleiadians. Oh, I love me a Pleiadian. But again, they're all on different levels too. Also really gnarly, really nasty. They can come in all different packages. Reptilians. Ugh. I remember seeing one, and it was a royal one, and it was like a shiny, sparkly royal blue. And it was like peacocking to me. It was like shaking its tail. I'm like, dude, again, embarrassing yourself. I saw that in Costa Rica before they left. So moving along, angel frequencies. Again, as I said, when you see them, it's beautiful, but remember, double check with yourself. What did you feel? What did you get instantly? It's a quantum connection that you get. Please trust it. So now we're going to talk about some real truths. We're going to confirm some stuff, because with the time I have to share with you speaking, I really want us to remember some stuff and to bring some stuff that some of you might not know. You guys out there watching, howdy doody, and you guys here. It's really important that we remember certain things. I'm going to play you something, and then I'm going to invite my first guest up, because I'm bringing up 4 people. Oh, yes, I am. Here we go. Ding dong, the Greys and the Reptilians are gone. The Sakaar Reptilians from the Sakaar Empire, they're gone. They're off the planet now. Did you know that? Had you heard it? Did you think it was a makey-up? It was no makey-up. During the time of the Dwight Eisenhower administration in America, a deal was done by a group of men on the administration called the Majority 12. And those buttholes made deals with grey aliens in trade for technology to advance humanity that most of us never saw. The military did aspects of it. So much lying and corruption on your planet. The worst of the aliens that were here to hurt and harm, they are gone. The deals were made. It is true. You can look it up. It's all there to be seen. But right now, we're taking back our planet. We're taking down the cabal, the scumbags at the top, the impotence, the incompetence. Come join us, Galactic Spiritual Informers. Galactic Spiritual Informers. We'll see you there. I see you here. Well done, you guys. Well done. Okay, my first guest that's going to remind us of some actual truths is the one and only Elena Danaan.
Well, yes, in 2021, it was the last fights of a big operation of cleansing, of clearing the earth from regressive species that were settled there since the 1940s. They started to arrive, but 1955, that was when the deal was struck with the Majestic 12. They were in underground bases, as Michael Sala described and spoke very well about it. They were, the deal was, we don't mind your business, you don't mind our business. It was written like this. Well, all these millions of abductees every year, that wasn't planned in the agreements, okay? The agreements were, okay, we authorize you to take a few hundreds of people to make experiments, because the Greys, who were the most deceptive, highly advanced intelligence in the galaxy, convinced the Earthlings that we are you from the future. That's the BS they have been using on all the worlds. They have assimilated because they need the consent of the population to take a hold of the world. And then you don't hurt the Prime Directive because you get the consent of the people to be assimilated. So that's what they've been doing. And in 2021, finally, thanks to the Earth Alliance, to these brave men and women who fought in the deep underground bases to kick them out, they were kicked off planets. In 2021, and by the end of the year, 2021, I think there were 9 of them They were Ebans, tall greys. They were captures. These were the officials, Eban greys from Betelgeuse, who were in Dulce Bays. And they left the planet and they were caught. And it's very difficult to catch the greys because once they are caught, they always disconnect from their avatar and go back to the hive. As I explained yesterday, the hive is a highly intelligent entity. It computes extremely fast because it's a hive. So you can't beat that intelligence. You have no chance, only to take up arms and say no, F off. So these guys were arrested and they were captured, frozen in stasis before being captured. They did so well that they couldn't escape their avatars. The Federation got the code of connection of interface of the hive, the key frequency code of interconnection to the hive, the Orion hive, the queen. And so they didn't waste time. They used their own medicine. They sent the queen a virus. And this bitch disintegrated. And she's no more. She's disintegrated, and I explained all the planetary hives went back to normal, and now they don't want any problems. So there are no more greys on Earth. Although there are traces again, stills of abductions, but these are remaining last, events that can happen because these guys use time travel, so they generated abduction in the future by then when they organize these abductions. So the abductions that are still occurring, because there are some, there's going to be less and less. These were abductions that were operated from the past, when they were already still there. So that's going to go down, it's going to disappear. So be patient, use the F off method. That's working. And that's it. That's why I have to say, we are free. These guys are no more. And same for the reptilians. They're gone.
Thank you. Take that with you. Elena, Danaan, dropping bombs. Now, another very, very important aspect of the information that you all deserve and you should demand, and I know most of you do, is what is going on planet Mars. NASA's not going to tell you. NASA, you little bitch. But Tony Rodriguez can tell you what's happening on Mars and the moon. Tony Rodriguez, why don't you come up, honey?
Hello, is this on? Help me out here. Okay, hi guys. Firstly, Dani, this is the third GSIC. It's so wonderful to see you up here and actually you presenting. What a treat. Thank you so much. It's about time.
Thank you.
You asked me to come up here. Out of all my 20 years that I did, and when I was served in space, my least favorite time to talk about it is Mars. And it's also the most asked about. Truthfully, I was only there a short time. So we were a support soldier program. They were trying to match the numbers, the sheer numbers of the insectoids that the soldiers were coming up against. And so instead of having a well-trained, well-equipped, very expensive, rare, hard-to-get soldier, deadly soldier, they were trying to flood the battlefield with guys like me that they just grabbed and minimally trained, minimally equipped, and used as a chess piece on the battlefield. Let me see. This is a new slide for me. Oh, that's me. You're talking about me. Okay. Let me... Thanks. I was taken to a small base that was a forward base that was on the edge of where the temperature begins to get really cold on Mars. And it was a research facility originally and could staff 200 plus people. When I was taken there were only 50 people in it because it had been overran by insectoids at one point. And so they had set it up forward. It was near a natural outcropping of stones that had archaeological structures that were millions of years old that they were studying. So that's why the base was there, as best I know. And because the insectoids was contested territory, they had overran and chased the humans out. And so we were in there, and it was a great place to test their new soldier strategy. So we did hiking missions out onto the surface, and it was about a week or two of these that went on before. And the original first missions were successful. They were high fives. I remember getting up, being dressed in our environment suit, and going out into the light gravity, getting acclimated to the lesser gravity, and then basically going on a hike through the desert. And when we got back, it was high fives. All the administrators were very happy about what was going on. But we didn't see any it was just a pleasant walk in the day. Very cold and a distinct smell. But the third mission, we were out, we had contact with the insectoids, with several of them. And there are many kinds that I don't have the artwork for. You know, small poodle-sized beetles that had pinchers that crossed. They all had a distinctive side-to-side pincher, basically all the species that I'd seen. We had been briefed about reptilians that lived on Mars in a briefing mission, or the briefing room, a video. But this is the fellow that I had contact with. So we were confronted, men were killed. And this thing came up, I was pinned and had my arm severed off. One of the technologies that I don't hear, sadly, out of any of the other witnesses is we didn't use ray guns, we were using rail guns. We were using a small pellet that was very fast. In the thin atmosphere of Mars, it works great, and if it hits an exoskeleton, it's devastating to an insectoid. We had small rail guns, or gauze rifles, maybe that's the name. But this guy came up to me, and I had been a support soldier, a secondary soldier. And so we got ribbed a lot at the base by the soldiers, by the full-time guys. We got picked on. And the thing that always stuck out with me was when this thing interacted with me and it came to check what we were, what the program was, because we were new on the battlefield. It was very respectful to me, even though I was an enemy combatant. And I was begging for my life. I was bleeding badly, and I was begging to not be killed. Whatever. Some of the guys said it was cowardly to do that, but I did. I was begging. I did not want to die. But it came up, and it interacted with me telepathically in a great way, and it scanned my memories and saw the base where I was, and it eventually showed me the house that I was taken, that I was abducted from. I was standing with no pain, still bleeding, in the living room of my home that I had been abducted from in Michigan. And he said, "This is who you are. So this is who you really are." And I woke up, and the pain came back, and it released me. And they all fluttered together in unison. Every time they moved, they did it at the same exact time. They got in a formation, flapped their wings, and leapt away at high speeds. JP and I play video games together, and we shoot bugs. And I'm always telling him, they're way faster than this in real life, man. They were very, very, very fast. And but anyhow, that was an encounter that happened, and it's hard. It's one of the, like I said, out of the 20 years I was there, maybe 6 months. Yeah, in that environment. It was a very short. It got canceled. They had determined that the insectoids had adapted to the strategy much faster than they had a curve. They had projected how fast they would adapt, and they had adapted to the strategy much faster than they were supposed to. So they canceled the program. And that's when I was moved to a city and retrained and ended up being sold off to the Ceres colony, where those guys are. And This slide I just sent you, I sent you a bunch of good art slides. Andy was like, send me some slides. But talking about the moon base, it was these guys. So this was the reptilian was from a heavy gravity planet, was very strong, and he was my chaperone. So the only job he had was if I got out of line, he would grab me, and he was very strong. He was a short, stocky ET from a heavy gravity planet. He was the muscle, because the grays are very frail. And should I have somehow been violent, he was there. He was my security, and he walked me around. And the more I think about it, the more I try to recall it, throughout the questioning and all the interviews that I do. When I went from place to place on that base on the moon, at the end of my time there, before they were putting me back, they were deleting my memory and trying to stop me from remembering, because they had the ability to look in probable futures, and they kept seeing that I was going to do this. And so they would plug me into the machine, and I would get another round of it, and they would look again. And it kept getting worse for them. So in the beginning, they would show you, they would show me the end of my life, and they would record only the last few minutes, because that's easier to send that data back and analyze the future than record your whole life in one giant recording. So I was seeing multiple deaths events. And it kept getting worse. It kept getting worse for them. At first, I remember when I died, I regretted, I was laying there mortally wounded at the end of my life, and it was playing back, and I regretted everything. My life sucked. And then they did it again, and it was better. And when the book came out, every time that I was dying and I remembered releasing my book, it was a positive timeline. And they were in a panic. The gray guy was in a panic, and they eventually had to turn me loose and quit. They gave up because it kept getting better and better against them. So that's something how the technology worked. Thanks. Well, I'm really nervous today. Well, like I said, because this is difficult stuff to talk about. It's not my typical stuff. In a lot of interviews, I try to leapfrog right over the Mars stuff. And rightly so, because there are so many false testimonies about it. And I'm not trying to present my testimony to start an argument, but there's a lot of false information about what goes on up there. There's a ton, and it's getting worse. And so good thing we have eyewitnesses from last night. But that's about it, Danny. I mean, I can keep going. I don't know. These are the two predominant, and there were military guys on the base on the moon. And like I said, they knew I was going to remember. They tried their best to program me to not, and they bungled it. There was bungling, so they're not perfect. They make mistakes, and they don't get their job done all the time. And so here I am. Here I'm standing as proof.
Thank you, Tony. That was absolutely Tony Rodrigues, what a star. You notice something else as well? He's so humble, and he's telling the truth. And one of the telltales is, you ever hear him call himself a super soldier? I'm a super soldier. There are so many of those fibbers out there, aren't there? They're all commanders of fleets, and they go to conferences and they say, I'm in command of you. Could you prove it, please? No, but I am in command of you, because when I look in the mirror, I see myself. And then Tony Rodrigues gets on stage. And then when you hear about the weapons they use off-planet, what did he say? These guys are saying they use ray guns because they all watch Thunderbirds and Star Wars. But Tony Rodrigues says, no, I used a railgun. Yeah, eat that. Oh, my goodness. And somebody said once, Dani, why don't you ever have the soldier element, the secret space program people? I'm like, have you met Tony Rodrigues? And have you also met my next guest? Very important to know. Real people who've been upstairs. Now, you met JP earlier. Oh, my God. I still can't get over that. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. But our guest now is an extraordinary person, and also from a different part of the world, which is great. It's not just the American military. It is the French military, too. Many secret deals were done between governments and extraterrestrial visitors. Technology was given to humanity to enhance us as we evolve, but that technology was kept from us. It's unbelievable what they've done to us. Sold you off, had you abducted to aliens, did a deal, but didn't share the technology that it would have cured us and healed us from the ills. But don't worry, it is all coming. Here is another witness who will share some of those stolen technologies. The one, the only, Jean-Charles Moyen.
Thank you, everyone. So, my experience in the secret space program was in a good side, not the bad side to my friend Tony. I'm lucky because when you spoke about secret space program, many people say, "Oh, it's a bad," but not. It's a good. I search my word. It's a good experience for me. Thank you. When I was in the secret space program, I was not part of the Solar Warden, but the fleet of French America called the Solaris. It was the spaceship where I was. I worked with different spaces and different people, different nationality. I remember Asian people and different species like iguana, reptilian, but good reptilian, because every reptilian is not bad. It's important to clarify. The only reptilian very bad is a Draco. And I met, unfortunately, the Draco, but not the natural Draco. It was a black Draco. The black Draco is more powerful, more evil, and they have big wings in the back. They can read in your mind, and they can read what you do before you do. So the training was think another thing and created in your mind like a snow screen, you know. It was difficult because you must think this before you fight them. And one day I was on a mission, and during the mission we have a different suit. We have a mission with a suit for inside mission, a very léger, light. Thank you. Very light, with a muscle sculpture, but it was an intelligent suit. It can communicate with your organisms, and it's like exoskeleton, you know, like a second skin. It can distribute, I think it's correct, the power of your energy. If you do an effort, it's stored in the armor, and it's sprayed, thank you. It's sprayed to all your body. And the important thing, people say, but when you have a certain, like a pee or, you know, how do you do? It's simple. Each nutriment we eat, it's liquid. In a cafeteria, in a spaceship, we have a cafeteria, with a replicant food, you put your hand and you have the nutriment you need in your body. There is a picture of what you want, but when you push the button, is not what you see. It's like a baby food, you know? So, or something else. So it's very easy for the suit to keep, you know, wet, not wet, dry, because you don't need to go to the toilet. sometimes you need. And we have a second suit, more stronger for the mission outside. It was this suit I was during my problem. Push the button. This suit for the left for you. Okay, it's the suit for the inside mission, and the other suit was for the outside mission. During this mission, I was with different people, and my friend David Rousseau. I don't know if you know these guys, but it's an amazing person with the same story of mine, but when he writes his book, he don't know me, and when I made my movie, he don't know me too. So we have the same detail, the same spaceship named Solaris, and the same experience. And he recognized me, and I recognize him. During this mission, we must rescue the slave in Mars. And we have a belt into the suit, and when you push a button, we have a force field around you which protect you. I don't know why, but this time I don't have the time to push the button. And I was in the front of the Draco, the black Draco, and he knows that. And his tail cut me in half here. I was near to death. And my team killed the Draco. We have the different weapon. We have the weapon with the plasma. And we have a weapon that I never told before. For the first time, I disclose this. We have a holographic weapon. What is this? With a little device, we can generate something holographic, okay? But when you push the button, we change the frequency and it becomes solid. So imagine a knife or a sword. You can cut and after it disappears. No trace, no weapon, you imagine? And it exists for different things, you know? A bullet, you kill someone, it passes through and after it is disintegrated. So, I don't have the time to push my button. I was cut in half, and I was evacuated in a stretcher in levitation into the medical department of the Solaris, and I was put inside a medical bed. I remember it was a liquid. I was in the middle of my body, and in the top there is a crystal. It was a long process for me because my injury was very, very strong. And my team believed at this moment I was dead. After that, I was cured instantly, not instantly, but in a few minutes. It took a long time, but I remember feel tingling inside of me and like, reconstitution of my tissue. And it's hard to explain, but imagine when you take a shower, but very, very, very hot, and you feel the water into your skin. It was this, but in inverse, but inside your body. You feel something happen inside of you, reconstruction of all your muscle, and your blood flow inside your vein. So this was my experience, in a part of my experience, because I have a lot of experience. So that's it for me.
Jean-Charles Moyen, amazing. He actually did have a few more slides that he left out. The plasma weapons, the medical bed on the Solaris, and now, just a quick question. Does it get any better than that? Elena, Jean-Charles, Tony Rodriguez, JP, Michael Sala, Lee Merritt, etc., etc. Guess what? Guess what? Oh, you're going to love me. Spaceships have consciousness. Humans are programmed to think in 3D concepts, we know that. Our ET brothers and sisters have breathtaking technology, and now on Earth, so do we. Our next guest is greatly respected for his duty and his sacrifice to bring this information to planet Earth. It gives me the greatest honor, literally, to welcome the Knight of Terror, the Andromedan, Alex Collier. I got him out of retirement. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm rusty. I'm very rusty. Thank you. It's been an honor. It's always an honor and a privilege. And thank you, all of you, from wherever you've come to support and be the sponsors of exopolitics in this movement. It's so important. And it means everything. You know, for decades, we were kooks, nut jobs, insane, you know, and here we are, we're all insane, you know, and it eventually, the whole planet's going to become an asylum, you know. So thank you so much. The speakers, Tony is just fantastic. He's really come into his own, and I couldn't be more prouder of him. Elena, you brought the heat. You've always brought the heat, but last night, that shut everybody up, and it should. Jean-Charles, I don't know what to say. Magnifique. Magnifique. Oh. I've been asked to talk about starships, and I want to just add a couple things, pieces of information that I have. Jean-Charles, a lot of the weapons that you used on Mars, or on your missions with the Solar Warden, were never given to the Dark Space Force. There were things put in place to make sure they never had it. And when the Alliance members came down to Earth and they started helping us clean out the dumps, they were given specific weapons and training. And then when the missions were over, they removed those weapons from the hands of our guys. And the deeper they went, the Alliance forces, I'm referring to the extraterrestrials, would go first because they could adapt to the pressures. And then they would use levitation devices to bring the bodies and things back to the surface where our teams were ready to take them to the surface or to destroy the bodies or whatever they were going to do with them. So there was a lot of things going on, and there's still some things going on. And I've been made aware that one of the last dumb areas in Australia is being cleaned out as we speak, and that's under Brisbane. Okay? Yeah, it's under Brisbane. So if we have any folks here from Brisbane, I did meet somebody. So Australia, you're almost done. All right? You're going to get your country back. The amazing Mr. Adair is in the house. I have a slide presentation, and my guys from the Zenithate constellation, Andromeda, they're fifth density. And it is really hard to find slides or anything that are exactly what it is. a lot of the things that are in 5D I could not even see because my mind, my consciousness had no idea what it was looking at. And therefore it's either gray or dark gray, almost to black. And the time that I have spent with them, now Morane ship is one thing because I've spent a lot of time there. But on their mothership, I didn't spend a lot of time there. I just had this one brief time. And it took literally 45 days, I'm told, because when you're in space, you kind of lose time. You have no idea. There is no clock, there is no watch. And I started to see some things, but for the most point, for most of the time that I was there, Morane would take me by the arm and he would guide me around so I wouldn't fall off a bridge, trip into a creek or something that I had no idea was there. And you know, I felt like a toddler, but it was, you know, in hindsight, it was absolutely necessary. So talking about starships, and I guess we just do this. My right is here, yeah. Their ships are spherical. Now, they have scout craft, and they're of all different sizes and shapes. But their host ship, which many of us call motherships, are spherical. And they find that that's the perfect shape for their environment, which is predominantly 5D. Now, they do drop down into lower dimensions. They have that ability. And what's really interesting is, and you have to understand this, and I've talked to JP, and JP, I don't know if you're here, if you're in the room listening, I'm extremely proud of you. Well done. You know, well done. You did great. They can come in and they can create a space here in our dimension, third dimension. Let's say it's 100 meters. And yet, on the inside, it's a mothership. It's a mothership. Okay? Now, it's very difficult to comprehend because we just simply don't understand that. And that's because their ships are built in a completely different way and in a completely different dimension. And the higher you go in dimension, the more expansive everything is. So when they come down, they can literally decide how much space they're going to take in 3D. Their motherships, they're at least 800 miles in diameter. They have multiple levels. Each level has a park area inside that's approximately, in our mathematics, is approximately 20 miles wide. And they have their housing all around the park. In the park are animals. They have things that would be similar to squirrels, but I can't tell you the colors because we don't have those colors in our realm. They're in a dimensional frequency of 225. We're 72. Okay, so you can just imagine what it's like. The children levitate. Okay, when they move, they glide, literally, and when they choose to sit down, they do. A lot of times they will just hover, and they're adorable. They're absolutely adorable. They're all telepathic, so unless they communicate with you directly, you don't hear anything that they're saying. A lot of smiles. I have shared a story in the past that I play a lot of contemporary jazz in the car and in the house, but especially when I'm in the car. And they were intrigued by the music and the depth of the music. So I'm like, okay, so I made a CD for them of some of my faves. And I have presented that to Morane, and they have the technology to pull the information off of anything. And they've asked for several CDs, so they now have several CDs. But what's really interesting is that the children really like the music. They like the depth, they like the beat. Now, they don't want anything that has song lyrics. They don't want any singing, they just want the music. And when I asked them, they said, well, because that's the energy of the writer of the music. That is the energy of the musicians. That tells us what they and who they are, because it's their frequency in the music, the way they play it. And that's all, and that's important when we get to the end here. Okay, it's about frequency. Everything's about frequency. When they travel in these starships, they have everything. They are complete worlds. Okay, everything they have. They have the orchards, they have everything inside. They have the ability to build ships from scratch on these starships. And none of their ships are built on the ground. They're all built in space. So they're not built to actually touch down. Wherever they go, they hover. And JP told you about that with the Nordics today. All the ships were hovering. That means they're built off-world. Okay? That's important to remember as we get closer and closer to contact. Because I'm third density, in order to be on board with them, they created a belt for me. And this belt creates a third dimensional atmosphere around me. So the minute I come up, okay, when they come, they hover, they send a blue beam of light down, I get in and I walk right into it, it disassembles me and boom, like that, seconds. And then I'm on board. And this container that you see, this energy field is 3D, and they will reach in and put the belt on me. And as long as I wear the belt, I can be in their space. And this belt takes elements of their atmosphere and convert it so that my body can exist there. It even changes the gravity inside my field as long as I wear the belt. It's remarkable technology. And I even asked, I said, well, if I was wearing this belt and I went underwater, would I drown? He said, no, but we're not giving it to you. I'd have that in manufacturing so quick, right? But it's awesome, and I can actually touch. I can't go outside of the frequency of the belt, but they can easily reach in as well. And you know, when I'm with them and I'm wearing this belt, I have to tell you, I've never ever felt more safe. And I can't even explain it to you, what it's like. The inside of their ships are very plain, very simple. But what's interesting is that, and other contactees would know this, Elena I'm sure knows this, when you're walking down the hallway, everything's lit up, but you do not know where the light's coming from. You know, you just don't know. And what's interesting is that I've heard people, Special Forces people, talk about when they're exploring some of the extraterrestrial facilities that they've uncovered under the ice, they have walked into rooms that are miles long. And the minute they walk into it, the walls just light up. And these things have been there for tens of thousands or millions of years, and they still operate. You know, they don't build obsolescence up there. They're not Fords, okay? They don't build anything that's obsolescent. Everything is built to be forever. It's really remarkable. And of course, technology changes, but you know, their throwaway is future for us, it seems like. Now, what's also interesting about the walls is that at any time, if there's a telepathic message, let's say I'm walking down the hall with Mornay and he gets a message from his crew that something, all he does is walk to the wall, in any part of the wall, touches the wall, and monitors holographically appear everywhere. And he can look for himself at the information that they're seeing inside the cabin, the control cabin. And then he will, you know, telepathically give them instructions of what to do. And then he'll look at me and say, let's go. So, I mean, it's like Dani had said, the ship's alive. It's part of the crew, and the crew is part of it. And we'll get to that in a minute. Let me go back one more thing. Oh, I can't go back. Okay. Okay. because of the nature of the ship and how they're built, Mornay's ship, when it comes in, is roughly 30 to 35 meters. That's the space they choose to take inside our third density. Inside, it's enormous. It has hangars, cargo areas, sleeping quarters, it has medical quarters, and what's really interesting is that it has 7 levels, all right? And you're looking at the outside of this and you're saying, well, it's pretty small, you know, but when you get inside, it's just like, oh my God, it's enormous. So it's very deceiving in that way. What's really interesting is that the ship has the ability to change its size on the inside to make it much larger or much smaller. It can even add decking, floors inside the craft. All they do is ask it to do it, and it happens. It's extraordinary. You know, it's almost like a video game, but it's not. And they do intensively use holographic technology. The cargo areas are remarkable. Now, here's how they build their ships. All their ships are built in space. And what they do is they grow the frame of the ship. It's organic. It is some kind of an alloy that is organic, that has the ability to transform its own shape. Okay? It holds consciousness. Some of it is that of the crew, some of that is source, and some of that is AI. All right? Now, the AI specifically will only manage certain programs of the operation of the ship. They don't give it full operation because if something happens to the AI, then they don't know what to do. So it only has limited ability. But what it's really, really good at is that navigation, the navigation of systems. So they grow these ships, and what they'll do is they'll take it in pieces. And what's interesting is that they have a basic standard size that they grow the components, the structure of the ship. And what they'll do is they'll overlay it. They will hit it with some kind of a sound frequency, and this expedites the merging of the pieces into one solid piece. Okay, it'll just come in and lay on top, and they'll hit it with this frequency, and now it is one solid piece, virtually indestructible. And they will do the same thing with other components and pieces. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, and then what they'll do is they will add one or two different levels, I think. And what they will do at that point is, okay, 1 or 2 levels. And then what happens after that is that they grow the outside, the shell of the ship. Now, the shell of the ship is made of the same component, this specific organic living alloy, but they add other things to it, other components that we would consider crystalline structure. Because the outside of the ship is not only alive, it can not only change its shape, but it also can repair itself. Now, I know that we have some of that kind of technology on Solar Warden. And I think some of the Earth forces even have something like that. But they're on a completely different level. And literally, the ship can change its shape, and it can also heal its skin as it's in flight. It doesn't have to park somewhere and wait. The ship is doing this itself as they're moving. It can also change the texture of the outside of the craft as well. Let's say they're going through a specific portal where there's very heavy gravity. The outside of the ship will strengthen itself based on the information it's giving. In other words, it will thicken itself in order to withstand the gravitational fields. And then once they're through that and there's no further concern, it will go back to a very thin sheath. I'm having a hard time describing this because there's nothing like it here. And in this dimension, there's just nothing like it. And there are things that I've seen that I can't even explain to you because there aren't any words for it. So once the ship is built, and it has a couple of levels on the inside, what happens is, and again, the whole time this is happening, it's floating, all right? It never touches the ground or any surface. There is a platform underneath the ship. And the crew, one at a time, will go stand on this platform. This platform will then rise up to the bottom of the ship. The crew members will put their hands on the ship itself, okay? And what happens is that this frequency goes through their bodies, into the ship, through them. And what this does is this records their DNA, their frequency, their consciousness, everything that is unique to them, their song, their frequency, into the craft. And they will do this for all the crew members. And if you are not a crew member, you will never, ever get inside any of these ships. It will not happen. And then let's say a crew member dies, they don't remove that member because he is a part of the ship. What they do is they'll add another crew member if necessary, and another crew member, and another crew member. So they are always part of the ship, okay, the past. Because of their frequency, their memory, who they were, they always take the crew members with them, or at least their frequency, no matter what. You know, this is such a bad picture, but you know, this is what the suit, the energy field of the suit sort of looks like. It was the only thing that I could even come close to, and so let's just move on from that. The bedding quarters are very simple, very plain. In my entire experience with them, with Mornay and his crew, I've never seen any of them take naps. So I just know that this exists, these bedding quarters, and it could be that these are used for other passengers, other contacts that they make, whether it's fourth density or fifth. I know that they spend a great deal of time on rescue missions where stars are destabilizing, and they will go and they will assist other civilizations or colonies and remove them from the danger and take them someplace else. Holographic camera. I've talked about this for years. We call them med beds. Every ship they build has one. And for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, how this works is they will put you on this table. They will take a holographic picture of you. Now, this camera has the ability to take a picture of us holographically, or them holographically, all the way back to conception. And then what they will do is they have this monitor. They can go through this camera and through the monitor, and they can choose when your body was the absolute healthiest. And they can program that in, and then the holographic camera will then holographically project into the body a brand new liver, brand new kidneys, brand new heart, grow limbs, and it's done so fast you can't even imagine. And then they just get up off the table and they go right back to work. It's remarkable. Now, this technology has been around. The fact that, you know, Jean-Charles and Tony have talked about this technology, and so have others talked about this, that, you know, our space fleet has it, and even the dark fleet has it. You know, they have some of this technology. But it's been withheld from us for a very long time. And isn't it interesting that we can go and build colonies on other planets, and we can't take care of our problems right here on Earth? You know, it's because they don't want to. They simply don't want to. So we have to do it. We have to fix this. Okay? And the first thing we have to do is fire all the decision makers, because they're idiots. If you've seen an Andromedan ship traveling through space, this is what it would look like. It would look like a very large teardrop, or a medium size or a small teardrop traveling through space. And that's the field around themselves. Science vessels. This is actually the only slide that's really pretty good. They have science vessels where they do planetary archaeology. And not only in fifth density, but fourth density as well. They spend a lot of time in fourth because they want to understand about civilizations and about consciousness. They don't know everything. None of them do. Because if they did, there would be no need for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th density. So they're learning just as we are. And I can't remember who it was, one of my esteemed colleagues here said, well, they're trying to figure out who they are. You know, who they themselves are and who we are. And I have to tell you, they're just so impressive. You know, physically they're perfect. Physically they're all beautiful, gorgeous, or handsome. You know, and I've told this story about one of the first few times I met Mornay and I was in his presence. You know, he's like 7.5 feet tall, 450 pounds, and he's just boom, you know, rock solid. And I was so intimidated. I mean, you know, it's just like, oh my God, this guy's a god, you know. They don't act like it, but they look like a god. It's amazing. But their science vessels go all over. They do all kinds of work. They record, they heal. They are working with other spacefaring nations to terraform in their own density. Sometimes in fourth, they will assist or consult other planets. I mean, there is so much going on that we don't realize. It's even greater than the science fiction movies we see. Okay, there's so much more to it, and there's so much more to ourselves as well. You have to understand that. Every one of you that has soul, you have to understand this. If you get nothing else out of this, please understand this. Your soul came from Source, and Source is above all of it. You understand? You are not winning ninnies. You are part of all that is. You will always be part of all that is. They know it. The others know it. The dark side knows it. We're the only ones who haven't gotten hold of that information and know it. We know it now. I love this part. When they stop somewhere and they decide to take a sabbatical, or they are going to share the space, what they'll do is they'll begin to open up their shield. This is part of the opening up of the shield of their craft. This is, of course, a mothership, starship. And the hull just kind of opens up. Okay? And when they close their shield and they get ready, this is the best representation I could have. It's not exact in any way, shape, or form. But when they get ready to, and they close their shields and they're getting ready to teleport somewhere, this is what it looks like. The ship glows and then it's gone. Now what's interesting is their navigation system, and it doesn't matter which dimension we're in, they have mappings of everything. And the contact between their race and all other spacefaring races is phenomenal. If there's any changes in the galaxy, that information is shared with everyone. Okay, it's put out there. So it's not like, well, we didn't get the memo. The rally map wasn't accurate. We hit a sun. It's not like that at all, okay? They're all on board together. Everybody shares information. It's the law of consistency, which is what all benevolent races share, is the law of consistency. Whatever they know, they share upline. So everybody has it. okay, including their own people, especially their own people, even their young people. Even if they can't comprehend it, the information is shared with them nonetheless. Listen to the music for a minute. We got it. Thank you. That's what their ship sounds like. Yes, it's a song. Okay, the ship is a song. It also, even Mornay's ship sounds like this. They don't hear it anymore because they're so used to it. But I always hear it when I go on there. There's also a smell. It's a floral smell that, and I've tried. I cannot identify it at all. Now, this piece of music is by Stephen Roach, and it's the closest thing, because I love music, that I can find that resembles the sound of their ship. It's as if the ship is taking a breath in, then out, and then the is like a heartbeat. It's exactly what it reminds me of. And here you can see that the shield is open and there are ships moving about all over the place. And if you look, it's hard to see because I had no way to blow this up. You can see it's like a scale of frequency of music. And that's because everything is frequency, everything is music. And it doesn't matter the dimension, that's just the way it is. Everything is sound and frequency. It's as if God, the source, is a DJ and we are all the songs that it's playing. Okay, we all have a different song, we all have a different frequency. Even the A's, every single one is unique in its own way. And it's just extraordinary, and they will dance up and around. Now, this picture was taken because Kodak, back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, would release a camera that had no battery in it. There was no flash. Okay, it was just camera, click, and you get the exposure. It was specifically for daylight use only. They don't make those anymore because things that are electric won't work in fifth density unless it's their tech. So, and here's the shield is open. You can see it looks like Saturn, and the ships are all dancing around. Now, I was in Mornay's ship taking this picture when this was going on, and these are other ships. This is when we were approaching the mothership for my stay, and I was there approximately 89, 90 days. So that's Andromedan ships. That's Andromedan ships. That's Andromedan technology. We are. Oh, okay. Sorry. So, so we have technology here that is hundreds, if not 1,000 years ahead of what we know commercially. And I simply do not understand the thinking about not sharing it with humanity. I simply don't. I simply cannot understand the thinking of Agenda 21, Agenda 30, or the UN just passing their latest resolution to eliminate 95% of the population because we're of no use to them. We definitely have this all wrong. They're the ones that need to go, not us. Okay? this kind of thinking is just insanity, simply insanity. And the biggest journey we're all on is to discover who we are. Each one of us has our own path. Each one of us has our own dreams. Each one of us has our own song. And each one of us has our own destiny. You may not know what it is. You may not know the reasons why. That doesn't necessarily matter. What does matter is that you find a way to hear your own frequency, because you have one. And when you meet people that you know, or that you feel like you've met them and you've known them forever, those are people who have a very similar frequency, but it is not the exact frequency. Okay? It's not always about karma. Some of it is, but it's not always about karma. And I just want to say it's been an honor and privilege to stand before you once again. And I think I'm done. Thank you, Dani.
The great Andromedan Alex Collier. Wow. I invited him to step out of retirement, and he did. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And I gave him the whole rest of the time allocated. Sorry about that last slide. We're not going there. Just in case he didn't want to continue. And the information he shared is so chronically important, isn't it? Like, how many of you have actually heard that information before from Alex Collier? Please show me a show of hands. Wow. Not many. Not many. Isn't that amazing? So you're welcome again. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't stand it. It's just too exciting. And we haven't even got to David Adair or Dr. Christiane Northrup yet. Oh, I'm going to explode. Anyway, so we're going to break for lunch. I'm going to do a book signing if you guys want to bring your books, those that have them. I hope we're not going to sit there like Nelly no mates. But anyway, please adjourn, get your refreshments, and we will see you back here later.